that Zohran gets to the finish line, the more you are going to see the crazies come out of the woodwork and try to knock him off his perch. That is going to be a consistent occurrence on the campaign trail, depending on where he is. But we do want to give a shout out to Zohran because he has made it very clear that he wants to be the mayor for all citizens in New York, not just the ones that are in the heavier Democratic-leaning pockets like Manhattan and the Bronx and Brooklyn. He's talking to the people in Queens, and he's especially talking to the people in Staten Island. And this is a clip from from the speech that he gave the other day at a rally that he did in Staten Island, to his credit.
How we doing, Staten Island? I didn't know it was going to be such a cool day today. It is such a pleasure to be here with you. The borough that continues to teach New York City the possibility of free transit. Because despite the caricatures of this island and this borough, we know that progressive ideas have a home here.
Right off the bat, he's leaning into the economic issue that exists for so many working class and poor individuals who live in Staten Island. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Staten Island, yes, Matt Stewart actually is an island. I mean, you want to talk about brutal transportation options. I mean, it doesn't really get any worse than Staten Island. So it is kind of amazing that he or any of these, it's not even MAGA. It's just, it's the idea that this guy is a socialist and he's a commie and all the tropes that are thrown in the direction of somebody who wants to bring a little taste of social democracy to a major city that hasn't felt it in generations, quite honestly. And so rather than just focusing on the primary areas where he's going to get the vote out, he's trying to bring the attention to the borough that would benefit the most by far if there were improvements in transportation. So kudos to him for going into deep red Staten Island and trying to bring his message. I mean, he's taking absolutely no chances on this election. To his credit, he's going for it.
Just like so many others. And an island that we know is not immune from this horrific crackdown we are seeing from the Trump administration. For too long, too many of us have been afraid to make the case. All right. Yeah. All right. We have been embarrassed of our own ideas and ideals. Right. And part of the reason that I stand before you as the Democratic nominee is that I went everywhere. All right. I spoke to New Yorkers who voted for Trump, whether on Fordham Road or Hillside Avenue. And I did not lecture them, I listened to them. Yes. And I know that though there are Staten Islanders who are passionate in their support for Donald Trump, there are some of those who voted for both of us.
That's true. It was also pointed out after the November election last year that there were a lot of Trump voters in Queens that voted for Trump and for AOC. Now, obviously, we have a difference of opinion about AOC compared to Zohran. Nevertheless, it is understandable why that would be the case. The whole dynamics regarding politics is changing in the United States. It's changing every day. The whole red versus blue divide, those lines are being broken down day by day, moment to moment. And this should come as absolutely no surprise with somebody like Zohran, who is a non-corporate, anti-Zio candidate speaking to the issues that are affecting the overwhelming majority of citizens in the city, of which it is the biggest city in our country. And probably as much as 80% of residents in New York City, David Hunter can attest to this, so can several others. Even if you're not living in poverty, you're not exactly living high on the hog. In fact, you may just be one slip and fall away from being in hell in more ways than one. And so credit to Zohran for going right in there without hesitation and saying, we're going to take the vote to Staten Island. We're going to show them that their voice matters here, even in a borough that has been essentially forgotten because it tends to vote red, very red. But that's no excuse. Everyone's voice needs to be heard.
And I do not blame them, because what they may have heard is a through line in just how suffocating this cost of living crisis is. Yeah. But while Donald Trump ran on the promise of cheaper groceries, he has delivered cuts to SNAP. Yeah. What separates me from him, one of the key differences, is that I mean what I say. And the reason that Donald Trump has threatened to deport me, to arrest me, to denaturalize me, is because he knows that when we deliver on this platform, it will throw into stark relief his betrayal of those same working class Americans on a message of affordability.
Yeah, but here's the thing that nobody's talking about, which I think is key. And if you just listen to what Zohran is saying, it's very important. He's talking about the betrayal of Donald Trump to working class Americans. Here's the dirty little secret that I'm sure a lot of you are aware of that happened this week. It's also a betrayal of the working class Americans that was brought to us by years and years, generations, if you will, of neoliberal Democratic Party politics, most recently, of course, by Barack Obama, who did reach out to Zohran this week. Clearly, for whatever reason he decided to do that, he's trying to soften him up, I'm sure. But I think Zohran fully understands his position right now. I think he understands how close he is to pulling this off, and that he doesn't have to really make these untenable type favors, promises that will basically put him behind the eight ball of the needs of working people and the needs of corporate special interests. It would appear that he is pulling away in this race, and that the strategy now is to derail him after it's all said and done. Let him get in, and then we'll deal with him. We'll stonewall him at every turn, and then we'll show America that this socialism, if you will, as they're going to paint it, doesn't work. Stop trying to make it happen. Goodbye. Nope. No. No, real change is coming. And I'd like to think a lot of people are starting to pick up on that. But that's not the reason why I'm showing you this clip today. We all know that Zohran is great on the stump. There's a lot of great things to say. And again, take it with a grain of salt. He's doing things that I don't agree with, including what apparently was a meeting with Jamie Dimon of all people this week. As I said, let's hear him out. Let's see what he can do until he starts taking that corporate money and starts making decisions that go against the needs and the will of the people of New York City. He, I think, is based on what he's accomplished already, he deserves that grace. So let's give it to him. With that said, there was an incident, for those of you who may not be aware. There was an incident that took place at this event in which a Zionist, as I would say, decided to come after him. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Scott Lebedo, but you're going to get familiar with him right now because he decided to show up at this very event and cause a stir, a very big stir that was captured on video, and you'll see what happened.
The communist. Sorry, I want something to eat. I would like something to eat. Let me tell you something, man. You are not welcome in this island. October 7th, Jew hater. You fucking Jew hater. Hey, Mr. Mamdani, can I talk to you? This is my island. You're not welcome here, fuck. Excuse me. You hate Jews. You hate this country. You hate this island. Big shot full of Tom Holman. Don't go home. Go home.
So evidently they found out about this event, and this guy Lebedo decided to make a big stink, but also physically threaten him. And of course, he ended up getting arrested as a result. Now, for those of you who don't know who Scott Lebedo is, I'm going to enlighten you all He's actually a pretty gifted artist. I don't want to take away from his skill set. He does all things pro-America, of course, very pro-Trump. But we have to hear what the man really thinks in his very diluted brain. But there's a reason I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing this up because most of you have to understand that the closer Zohran gets to the brass ring, the more dangerous things are going to get. This is just the beginning. But this guy was clearly there to try to intimidate him. And who's to say that this is going to stop here? Again, typical Staten Island Guido, trying to act like a tough guy, always a tough guy around somebody who is not as physically as imposing as he is. Like I said, typical. But this is from the wit and enlightenment of the guy who decided to get himself arrested and then have this to say post his arrest regarding Zohran Mamdani.
You ever throw a surprise party? You know how hard it is to keep it quiet so the participant who it's for doesn't find out? Well, folks, I'm gonna put another notch on my belt. Surprise party king, right there, because it was perfect yesterday. Everybody that...
What was perfect about it? That you showed up with a bunch of psychos that were screaming for Israel. You know, it's one thing if you actually showed up and were saying your policies suck, you're hurting Staten Island. No, he showed up to bitch to him about the fact that he's not pro-Israel or that he's a Muslim. Get the hell out of here, Indian, brownie. It's one thing about the Italians, more specifically the Sicilians. If you all have not seen the movie True Romance, I highly recommend that you do. Now, I've met a lot of people in my life of all different shapes and sizes, of all different walks. And I could tell you, bar none, the most bigoted men towards the Black community are Sicilian men. They're the most bigoted that I've ever seen. I'm not saying they're all like that. Far from it. But let me tell you something about these guys in Staten Island. When they talk about the, excuse my English here, but the Moulignans that live in the certain neighborhoods, this is that guy. That guy, that's this guy. That's him. And you know why? You want to know why he talks like this? You want to know why he looks like that? I'll tell you why. Because he knows that he's got black blood running through his veins. And he hates it. He hates himself. He projects. And that is why no one gets more upset when it comes to questioning whether or not Christopher Columbus was a bad hombre than Sicilians like him. Absolutely lost his mind. So that's the type of guy that really hates Zohran Mamdani. And so the fact that he's talking a certain way, projecting himself a certain way, is just so stereotypical. This is the type of person that I would expect would hate Zohran Mamdani. It's another thing entirely that he's going there to physically impose himself on him. This is a warning shot. Keep in mind, the election is not for another 2.5 months. A lot of things can happen between now and the beginning of November. And he's trying to send a message that, hey, you better watch your back, kid. We may not be able to beat you at the ballot box, but we could beat you in other ways. Gabagoo? That's what he's saying.
I was involved, all the other guests that came, quiet until we got there, and he showed up, and he was trying to come through the side door, not even in the front door, and we came running at him. Surprise, motherfucker! Yeah, and then he got slammed right into the side door. His security, imagine that. This big detail security. All due respect to you guys, there was a little pushing and shoving going on. You're doing your job. It is what it is. Everything's all, hey, all spare and love and war. So God bless you. But anyway, we went storming in the front. There was about 30, 40 of us, whatever. There was about 10 of us.
No, there wasn't. There was only a few of you. It wasn't a big deal. You make it seem, again, they learned from Trump. It was a really great event. There were 25,000 people there. Sir, there were 2,500 people there. It doesn't matter. Add another zero. It sounds really great. We showed up with 40 people. No, there was like 2 or 3 guys shouting with you. Amazing that's what he's complaining about. Douchebag.
His fucking people there. And we got, that guy knew who we were. And I did a little bit of this also to...
Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm the guy that sucks off Trump every chance I get. Have you seen the fabulous bacons I make? They're as tasty as a pizza pie. It's unfortunate, but Staten Island has great pizza. I got to give them up for that. This is why I do what I do.
Honor my good friend Tom Homan, because if you remember, that's how Mr. Mamdani became famous a few months ago, before this whole election, when he was screaming at Tom Homan in D.C. with his suit on, letting everybody know that he's a runner-up. You're bad. Look at me. You're bad, and I'm going to get you. Fuck out of here. Tommy.
Got it. I don't even know what he's talking about. Let me tell you something. The one thing that doesn't get talked about, which is why these... the fact that these guys are so caught up in this immigration issue. We're going to get to that in a minute. Don't you worry, because that's coming next. But let me assure you that a paisano like this, he's bad for other paisanos. He makes them look bad. He's every walking, talking stereotype of the worst kind of wops that you could possibly imagine. And he loves it. He's so proud of being the worst type of Italian. The worst stereotypes. I went to high school with Mike Sorrentino, the situation from the Jersey Shore. Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you guys that before, but it is the worst representation of Italian culture, the worst kind. But that's typically what makes it onto TV. Then you have The Sopranos, and you have Gandolfini talking about, the worst type of reputation that come with the Italians. They're really bad to us as people. They disrespect the Bing. They disrespect this. Again, it's not helping, which is also why, if you're not aware of this, if you talk to real Italians, I'm talking people from Italy, they do not associate with these type of Italians. They think they're all guinea wops. They want nothing to do with them. Italian Americans versus Italians, 2 very different cultures, extremely different. So when they try to embrace themselves and wrap themselves around the Italian flag and the Italian horn and the big cross, and they're like, oh yeah, totally, this is me. The real Italians over in Italy, they look at these people like the dog shit. Like this is not a representative of our culture, of our people. Not at all. And yet this guy thinks he's hot shit. Thinks that this is the type of behavior that's appropriate. Let me get somebody who is crazy enough, because I actually care about my life. As you can see, he does do pretty good paintings of the American flag. He's a good artist. I'm not going to take that away from him. But what I will say is that he's hoping he triggers somebody who really is a nut job that lives in the city that's going to go up and take care of Mamdani. That's what he's hoping for. And it's not just the fact that he is perceiving him to be this anti-Israel Muslim, if you will. He also has bought into this idea that if, God forbid, somebody like Mamdani gets in there and some elements of socialism is brought into the big city, it's going to kill their ability to keep making money hand over fist. That's their real worry. That's the big concern. They can say it's about Israel, and for a lot of them it is. But for a Catholic like this, I highly doubt he gives a shit. He may have friends that he does business with that loves Israel, especially, there's not much of a Jewish population in Staten Island, so I don't know exactly where, he's finding himself like overly concerned about this. The only thing that really does make sense is the fact that he loves Trump so much, he wishes he was married to him, that because Trump loves Israel, by extension, he has to love it too. That's what it's about.
I made that guy look like a little fucking crying schoolgirl, all due respect to schoolgirls. But yesterday, because every word out of my mouth had to be bleeped, did I give it to him right to his face. Anyway, it's good to know that he's seen my face now and he knows Uncle Scotty and my crew of patriots that are going to be following this cocksucker around my city, our city, until November.
Just remember, most of Staten Island is not regarded as much of anything. They don't even really want you as part of the city. In fact, when we think about the fifth borough, more people would associate Jersey City or Hoboken than they would Staten Island. It's like its own little enclave that just happens to have a train that connects into the city. But you're really no different when you think about it. You're not part of the main island. You're separated from it. You might as well be your own state if you really wanted to be. But this guy, the way he talks about Mamdani, yeah, this is how Guidos talk. This is how they talk. I grew up with these guys. I know what they're about. Some of them I love, and some of them I can't stand. Trust me, I've been around all of it, as I said. I've seen it all. This guy really loves to hear himself talk. And unfortunately, I do worry about Zohran's safety. And I don't necessarily worry about it from a guy like this, because this guy's not going to do shit. He talks a big game, but he ain't doing anything. Now, is he hoping, against all hope, that he gets some nut job to do the job for him and for all of his paisanos and Zionazis and everybody who stands to lose a little something of their very rich pie if, God forbid, somebody like Mamdani takes over New York City? Yeah. Yeah, he 1,000% is hoping something like that happens. I'd like to think it won't happen, but who's to say? With the way things are going right now, people are absolutely nuts, and the city is upside down and inside out. He's got a little bit more to say, so let's not, neglect our, new bumbling moron of the week.
Anyway, the beauty of this whole thing is that we got him. You got it? And we could tell we got him because you can see that shit-eating grin that he walks around with when he's petrified. It's like with his little fake dimple. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Meanwhile, we know we could smell the load of shit in his fucking panties when we stormed that fucking joint. Apologies to the restaurant as well. If anything was broken, I don't think so, because we're not that kind of people. But
trust me, no one's going to serve you again. And you know what's going to end up happening? You're going to be on a lot of people's watch list yourself. If they see you showing up to their joint, they're not going to serve you. That's what's going to happen. That's how they roll. Yeah, we went into the frickin' joint and we took care of this little Mamdani. Me and my 40 other guys, because I'm a big fucking pussy myself. I couldn't take care of him on my own. I got 20 guys in front of me who are pushing him back because they know that if he actually came up to me, he'd probably give me a 1-2 combination of my jaw and I'd be out for the count. Yeah, that would suck. Again, big talker from a big distance.